Hello, everyone. It's BlackBox episode 12. I think we nailed that intro mark, unlike last week. We're back on it.
No problems, and we almost started on time, just about 30 seconds late. But it was a bit of a mild panic. Or I did, but you were very calm.
Frantically chipping away. I think you told me at one point to stop talking to you.
Yeah, stop talking. I'm concentrating.
So we're back in the usual slot on Wednesday. We are on our march towards 10,000 subscribers. We're at 9.37 at the time of talking to you now. So if you haven't subbed, please make sure you do. And then we're being suited to the next episode, so that'll be nice for everyone.
Yes, not in your birthday suit. That was what you threatened last week, wasn't it?
That's 100k.
Yeah, that's a long way off, God. And what shape will Az be in when we reach 100k? It could be years. Who knows what state it is going to be. But something missing this week. Oh no, the Tash is still there. What's going on?
Well,
Hold on.
It's more blended in now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's back to kind of usual. It was a debate whether to keep it or not. It grew on me literally, but towards the end. But in the end, it's disappeared. So back to my usual face, which is a bit of relief.
Yes.
So it is episode 12. We're gonna look back to Gameweek 10 and look ahead to Gameweek 11. We're gonna do all the usual stuff, check in with our teams. We're doing well. I mean, you're doing very well. I'm doing okay. You're doing brilliantly, which is good. And as the episode title suggests, it's going to be Man City who we look at, because we were wondering, are they going to absolutely spank Burnley? Is it going to be the old Man City in a season where they've looked a bit shaky? And the answer was a resounding smashing again.
They beat them 5-0 again for the fourth time in a row. They come to the Etihad and get beaten 5-0. It was odd, wasn't it? And it should have been more, shouldn't it? Bruyne hit the post, and Jesus should have scored. And
with no City players, it was
painful. Did you enjoy that game? Did you actually watch it? Did you put yourself through it?
I listened to the first half on the radio and then subjected myself to the second half. And when De Bruyne hit the post by the end, that was not a fun moment.
Were you not cheering for me? Were you not willing him to score more points? That's disappointing.
Not, no,
That's really disappointing to hear. What kind of support? I didn't enjoy that moment. I was disappointed with the 10 points because
I can imagine.
He was heavily involved again, and and should have scored at the end. But I mean, again, just the energy he had to get into that position in stoppage time and do that shows his appetite at the moment, which is a good sign. It's a good sign if you got him going into game week 11, of course. Yes. So should we look at our game weeks then? Should we get going?
Yes, do it. Yeah.
So you're happy with your score, though, weren't you? Surely. I mean, it was a decent game. Another green arrow, fourth in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it was all right. I mean, Chilwell, you just kind of expect points from every week now. I'll just go over my team quickly. So Martinez in goal, Chilwell, Semedo, don't ask. Luke Ayling, Fernandez, Son, Ziyech, Grealish, Jota, Vardy and Calvert-Lewin. And Mopé on my bench. So dodged the Mopé -1.
Yeah, and you've got it in for Semedo, who was your lowest scoring defender, I guess. But I mean, overall, Vardy, I thought you were quite fortunate to get the assist, to be honest. I was watching that match and I thought Leicester didn't look great at all. And
not at all.
The assist, he had that flick in the first half, which was a smart little... But he didn't have many touches, didn't really threaten. Leicester, Fulham were the better team, quite frankly.
It was painful. It was the whole match was painful. I mean, I saw the team sheet and I thought, it's a very negative team sheet to play at home to Fulham.
Yeah, no Harvey Barnes.
No Barnes, no Under on the right, no real width. I mean, 5 at the back. It's all just a bit. He's not going to get a lot of service here, and he didn't. I thought Fulham was, but I mean, Anguissa, he was just like the first half particularly. He was just an absolute beast. He was making amazing tackles, making amazing runs. He was setting his teammates up. He was really a big driving force between that performance. So yeah, hats off to Fulham. I didn't give them a chance in that. I really backed Vardy to get a couple of goals in that, to be honest. And I was actually quite happy with Fernandez and De Bruyne only getting 10, because obviously they were the big heavily captained players. De Bruyne in particular getting 10. I thought Vardy has got a chance of matching this, or he needed a goal and something else to do it. But I was still relatively confident until about 20 minutes into the Leicester match, and then I thought, it's not going to work. But yeah, I mean, I did Kane and Souček out for Jota and Vardy, so the moves paid off, which is good. And overall it was a decent week, but I think I just don't really. We talk about it in a bit. I don't really know what to do. I really like my midfield.
You're talking about Mahrez, aren't you?
I'm talking about Mahrez.
Only a week ago, you were going. I'm sure you were saying to me, "Why is Mahrez starting again for City? What's going on there?"
I know.
What? And now he's not only going to be starting for City at the weekend, he could be starting for you as.
It could be captained for me.
No,
as well. It's unbelievable. I mean, the trouble is, and I was talking about on the Scoutcast yesterday. I look at my midfield, look at Fernandes, Son, Ziyech, Grealish, and Jota, and like I don't really want to get rid of any of them. But like you said to me in a WhatsApp message, is Ziyech really gonna be like with the midfielders that are available at the moment? Can I really put Ziyech in that top tier along with De Bruyne and Salah? And I know the prices are a lot different, but in a way, he's kind of restricting me from getting one of those two. And I'm just not entirely sure that he really is that kind of level because of how deep he drops.
I think you went too early. I mean, I was tempted as well. I mean, he had impressed in the first couple of games, but I guess, he's still set. We've seen it with Chelsea. He's still settling into the pattern of play with them. And the last couple of games, he still looked likely getting assists. He's had shots on goal, but I wouldn't say, he's not getting into the box. He's not having goal scoring opportunities with the frequency that Jota does or Grealish does. So he's kind of that's his price point is Grealish, isn't it? And I don't think he's doing as much as Grealish. Like Grealish it seems to be a bigger goal threat for sure. Arguably, Ziyech has more creativity in him, and he's playing for a better team. So I think assists will come, points will come, but are they going to be enough to warrant using up a spot and using up that amount of money? It's a really difficult one. But now you've got him. You've only given him 2 games, have you, so far? So it's difficult.
He's had 3. He's had 3 games. Got double digits in the first game I had him, and then he's blanked in the next 2. I mean, he was incredibly unlucky to blank against Newcastle because he had a tap in. So you talk about him not being in the box, but he had a tap in from Werner.
Yeah, true.
Who messed it up. He was less inspiring in the Spurs game, but you can give him a bit of slack for that. So it doesn't feel like a good move, especially at home to Leeds. But I'm just looking and seeing a real absence of City players, and obviously Salah as well knocking on the door as well. And just out of that midfield, he does seem the one that's the weakest. So it's a shame. But
we'll talk more about that when we look ahead to our teams and transfers. My game week, obviously pretty good again. With the, as you mentioned, with the Chilwell James double up has worked really well. Yeah, it has worked. And I got Alien off the bench to recover my Cancelo transfer.
Oh.
Well, it's not like that. It's called squad depth. That's what it's called. It was fortunate. To be fair, I haven't got Mitchell as my 5th defender. I've got Alien. So in a way, that's if I had Mitchell, I wouldn't be getting any points. And a lot of people have got Mitchell. So I chose to spend 4 or 5 on my 5th defender, and there's the benefit. So I got some points out of it. So I only lost 1 point on the Cancelo error, getting him in. I was blinded by those statistics, by my own data. I seduced myself with it. I know.
When we left BlackBox, you said you were going for Diaz. I couldn't believe it when you bought Cancelo in.
I was kind of like, I had a couple of hours. It's terrible because we finished BlackBox, and I had a couple of hours until the deadline. And I just had a look around, had a look at some more data, watched a few City videos, got a bit more opinion on whether. and the general opinion was Cancelo's played so well. There's no way Mendy's going to walk back into the. No way Wendy. I don't know if Wendy will get in the team, but Mendy. No way Mendy's going to get into the team and walk his way back in. So I really did think that Cancelo would be recalled, but not to be. And now he played in the Champions League in midweek again. Probably not going to.
I don't think he starts.
No, I don't think so either. But then the thing is, you can never really try and guess what Pep's going to get up to. But he was singing his praises in the week, and then clearly we'll bench him. But now I look at that City defence, and there's so many options there he's got. No, even if I'd have gone Diaz, right, I think I would be nervous about Diaz this week, to be honest. Because I think that he's got Laporte, who hasn't played the last 2 but has been on the bench, so he's fit. He's got Ake, who's now back, and he's got Stones, who didn't play midweek as well. So basically any of those 3 could come in for Diaz.
No.
I know there's Garcia to drop out, but so he's got 5 fit centre-backs, and you've got to think Garcia won't figure, but I think Ake might get a start against Fulham. I don't know whether they want his pace and familiarity, and I don't know. Who knows? If I had Diaz, I wouldn't be. I'd be like 80% certain of a start rather than 100%. I noticed today, Premier League have tipped him as a differential. I'm like, I wouldn't be going there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be doing it.
I mean, they have now qualified top of the group, so the rest for him could come in theory in the week. I think he is a risk though at the weekend. It's actually Walker I'm looking at. He's a bit
he's the only one who we can say is going to start. I think, and that's who I'm looking at as well when we get to my transfer later on. Anyway, my team: McCarthy, Ayling, Chilwell, James, Grealish, Jota. We'll say it correctly this time. Souček with his customary 2 points now. De Bruyne, captain. Fernandes and Calvert-Lewin and Kane up front. And the forwards did nothing last week. No one really got much from their forwards. So it was all about, for me, De Bruyne, captain, and Fernandes. And then Grealish and Jota came in as well. So it's that power midfield, really. It's familiar, isn't it? Getting our points from midfield is what we've come to expect in previous seasons, and it's happening now. And which is why the Ziyech situation for you is such one to ponder.
It really is, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at your team and I'm thinking about how you're going to get Salah in. Unless you lose faith with Kane, I don't see how you can do it.
Well, I've got money in the bank, so I can do Dina to a City defender, and then next week I'd have to lose De Bruyne or Fernandes, right? So I'd have to start doing the old late riser, whatever it's called.
Shuffle.
Yeah,
upside chasing.
Upside chasing, that's right. That's what it's called. It's patented, isn't it? So I'd have to start playing that game, which I'm not adverse to. And City have got United when Salah plays at Fulham, so it kind of makes sense that I could lose De Bruyne for that. But as we'll see later on when we look at the captains going forward, I'm going to have to do an in and out hokey cokey, whatever you want to call it, with Salah and De Bruyne then. So the question for me is, do I even want Salah? And I've got some data later on that might convince me that perhaps I don't.
I love that you can tailor the data around.
How dare
Last week it's like he's number one, he's the top of everything. He's got everyone's in this week. You're like,
no, let's get it right. We said Bruno. Bruno was the new essential asset, if there is anyone essential, and I think that he went on delivered. He delivered away from home again. He's got West Ham this week, and again I've got some data which shows it's very difficult to deny that Bruno isn't now the must-have. And De Bruyne and Salah is the debate, I think. But yeah, Kane is an issue. But then Kane's got Arsenal, and as we'll see later on, his record is really strong against Arsenal. And I do love Kane, yeah. Great in the good league. So look, I'm pushing up. I've taken over from Tom Freeman. Tom Freeman must have had a couple of mares recently because he was well ahead of me at one point. But he's
this is why I'm bitter, saying you're tailoring the data.
Yeah,
rising up the ranks.
Yeah, so up to 406,000 in the world, and gone to fourth place. And I'm chasing Neil down, who's only 1 point ahead of me. So I've got a chance of going third, maybe fourth rather. But FBL General, Magnus, and Fabio Borges out in front in this, having great seasons. Fabio, 18,000 in the world. Magnus, 39,000. I say Magnus like we're best of friends. And FBL General, 77,000. Good ranks, and basically apart from Tom Freeman, everyone had a big rank change. Right at the bottom there, Matthew Jones, big jump up 500,000 places, Joe up 300,000, late riser up 450,000. Everyone had a decent game week in this league, so it's good to see. I took another hit, and I've taken 20 points in hits this season, which is by far the most in the league. We've got yourself on 12, and Joe's had 12 as well. But to be honest, I'm not worried about that, because I think the Jota hit, I think, will work out. I've made some money out of it. As it happened, Podence went and scored, didn't he?
Yeah, great goal as well.
It was, wasn't it?
I was thinking of you about winning.
Yeah, it was typical though. So, but basically, my hit didn't pay off because Jota was matched by Podence's return, I believe, or more or less. There wasn't much in it, and then Cancelo didn't play. Had Cancelo played, I would have been out in front and profit. But Jota has risen, and I'm happy with him in my team early, and I haven't got to make that decision this week because obviously a lot of managers who didn't have him are now having to look at him ahead of the weekend, and certainly ahead of Fulham in the following game week. But we've had a great last 5 game weeks. I just want to bring this up. Both of us in game week 6, we were sitting here doing a Black Box episode, and if you remember, right at the end, we got some stick in the chat. Someone actually said, "Why are you listening to these two guys when they're both outside the top 2 million?" Ever since then, ever since that guy piped up, it's like it's motivated us to 4 green arrows. I've gone up 1.7 million places. You've gone up 1.6 million places. So we're the 2 biggest risers in the Great and the Good League.
Oi,
Since then,
wow.
yeah, we are. Yeah, over the last 5 game weeks.
We're doing something right.
But you managed. I was quite pleased with my last 5 game weeks. But you managed to find somebody. Who is this David Sommy guy who's had an incredible last 3 game weeks? Now, what's interesting about this, because it's really hard to have consecutive good game weeks, because particularly this season when the variance is there from week to week. But he's had some extraordinary game weeks. Game week 8, he came 15,000. Game week 9, 85,000. And then game week 10, 113th in the world. So what's his story then, Az?
Well, shout out to FPL Nutmeg on Twitter who posted this guy. So this guy is the most informed manager in the current top 10,000. And what's incredible about this story is that he hasn't used any chips to get to this stage. And I just think it's nice because it's a bit of an inspiration for everyone. I think anyone who's struggling this season or anyone who's worried that they're not going to make their targets. So in game week 6, he was ranked 1.2 million in the world, which
was better than us.
Better than us, yeah. But, it's okay. He then had a small green arrow the next week. So went from, I'd say a very small green arrow. He went from 1.198919 to 1.198214. So literally went up 700 places.
Tiny.
Took up massive decrease in team value. I don't know what he did in terms of his transfers, but lost 0.5. But then get this. He then scored 92 points and went up to 400,000 in the world. He then scored 86 points and went up to 133,000 in the world. And then he scored 101 points last week.
I don't know how he's done that.
And he's now 6,000 in the world. He's gone from 1.2 million to 7k in 3 weeks.
And what I don't understand is he hasn't played a wild card and he hasn't taken any hits. So he hasn't made any massive changes to that team in those 3 weeks. And yet he's had 3 consecutive strong weeks, ending in 1 week 113th place. That's very, very difficult to do. Really, really difficult to do. So hats off to him there.
And I look at his players, and he's got weird players in his team. He's got a Pope and Lloris double up. He's got Rodrigo. He had Jorginho at one point. He's got Tarkowski. He's got odd players, but then he's done things like bought in Mahrez. Did
he captain Mahrez?
He didn't. No, he captained Fernandez, but he bought in Mahrez, and like Lloris got 10 points. He's got the Chilwell and James double up that you had. He's got Callum Wilson, Jota. 101 points this week.
Yeah,
he got with a game week rank of 113. That would be amazing in itself, but to get that off the back of 2 absolutely brilliant game weeks as well. I just wanted to point out. I just thought that was. I can't remember ever seeing such a jump like that before.
Yeah, so he's humbled us because that's an incredible. We'll see what he gets this
casual,
week.
as some people say in the chat. Yeah.
Well, we'll
definition.
But but 29 points ahead of you now, Az. There's a gap opened up.
No.
Yeah.
I needed Vardy to hit 15.
You did
to close it, and he didn't. So there's a gap now. And
early
you've got
days.
Bruyne in place for Fulham, and
we'll see. I've got some issues. Early days though. Let's drop in on the top 10,000, shall we? See what they're up to. So the template for the top 10,000. Got some new players in here. Goalkeepers have remained the same. Martinez and McCarthy both gone up in ownership, which is interesting, given that Martinez obviously not going to play now in the game week. So that's a blow to the top 10. Do you want to take it from there with the back 5?
Yeah. So there's a couple of changes. Bellerin's in, which I thought was interesting, given how much Arsenal's struggling. He has been doing okay, but kind of feels a bit like that's looking back rather than looking forward, because Arsenal are just so uninspiring at the moment. I don't think a defender really probably is the way to go, but there he is in there. It's still Chilwell. His ownership's gone up. The fact his ownership's only 48% is amazing. I can't believe anyone doesn't have him at this stage. He's just such a great player to own. James Justin's there again. Zuma's there, but he's losing owners. And Robertson has actually increased because he had the haul the week before. So not massive changes there. It's Bellerin in for Sace. And then in midfield, you've got Son, you've got Salah, they're still there. Jota is now in over Zaha. So that was the most popular move that we're seeing in a minute. Zaha to Jota. Grealish is there. And Fernandez is in for Rodriguez.
Yeah, and he got a lot of captaincies there based on the ownership. I think that's the captaincy playing a part there with a 76.4. Interesting that Salah went down from 69 the previous game week to 50, whether that's the captaincy's playing its part. But we'll watch Salah's ownership now in the top 10k because it's going to be quite interesting, this choice, as we talked about, between De Bruyne, Salah and Fernandez. Up front, it's the same two, Kane and Calvert-Lewin, but now Bamford's made way for Vardy.
Yeah.
I presume that was obviously with the fixtures in mind.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, I think we looked at it last time and we kind of thought, well, Kane, Calvert-Lewin and Bamford, that's going to be a trio that remains because it's a solid three to have. But the lure of Vardy against Fulham proved strong, so a lot of people went for him, myself included. I do think we're going to see that switch back to Bamford after this week because Leeds have got a good run of games.
They have, yeah.
And Vardy's get a bit tougher. So
yeah, and I think we'll see a Leeds defender maybe drop in. We'll see. I mean that Bellerin position is only 16% ownership. That's going to change again, isn't it? Okay, let's look at the transfers, see what they got up to. Jota was the most transferred in. And then Vardy after that. You're right. So Vardy was a big target for the top 10k ahead of that Fulham game.
Yeah, I mean, he was ahead of he was ahead of De Bruyne, which was interesting because, I mean, I debated it as well, but I think it's easier. It was just easier to get Vardy because I mean I think a lot of people could just do the Kane to Vardy switch. You actually saved a bit of money, whereas if you wanted De Bruyne and you had to upgrade Son, then you probably needed to find a couple of million. So it was quite an easy move for myself, and it was such a good fixture that I thought Vardy could at least match De Bruyne because I mean again we weren't sure about what City were going to turn up and do, and in the end I've ended up quite lucky with a 5-0 and only 10 points for De Bruyne. It could have been a lot worse. But in a way I don't have any regrets about going for Vardy because I did think he was the strongest option against Fulham. So it just didn't work out.
He was a big favourite with the captaincy. So yeah, Jota and Vardy the most bought. Salah, De Bruyne next. Then Cancelo was the most bought defender. There you go.
Yeah.
A lot of people fell for it. Probably my making.
That's your fault.
I was going to say, I feel partly responsible. But although, there were people on Twitter after I bought Cancelo going, I bought Diaz off your advice on FPL BlackBox. So I was okay, good. I'm glad I didn't recommend Cancelo in the conclusion of last week's episode. But then I didn't follow the advice myself. After Cancelo is Justin, Grealish, Robertson, Walker, Maddison, the 10th most signed
I was really
player.
Surprised at that.
What's your theory there?
I don't really have one. I mean, me, I'm a massive Maddison fanboy, but he hasn't done anything to warrant investment. I mean, to be fair though, I mean, I honestly don't think Mahrez had done much to warrant investment up until that game. So the people that went for Mahrez and I mean, there was a transfer. I saw someone who did Ziyech to Mahrez last week. I mean, I could have done that. I can honestly say that never even crossed my mind for a second. So if you did that, fair play. I guess Maddison was just a way of covering that Fulham game if you didn't want to move Kane out for Vardy. And I mean, it's the kind of move that could work, but when there hasn't been anything that suggests that it's going to pay off, it's a massive gamble, especially with midfielders the way they are.
Yeah,
he's going to be moved out.
Well, for me, I don't think Leicester were doing enough even to. I mean, Vardy, for me, there was a question mark over whether Leicester were producing enough. Then it's Barnes, if you were going to look at midfield, and Maddison would be third on my list in terms of Leicester assets. But looking at the popular transfers, it was Zaha who was transferred out, and obviously the majority went from Zaha to Jota. But it was players like Zaha to Grealish, Zaha to Maddison, Zaha to Rodriguez, Salah and Zaha to Barnes. So lots of transfer obviously in midfield with Zaha being ruled out COVID. So that's why Maddison was popular. But it's interesting to see, more people bought in Maddison for Zaha than Rodriguez or even Harvey Barnes. So
fixture, purely playing the fixture. I mean, it's not an awful way to play the game. But anyone who's bought in Maddison, I think he's going to be first out. Yeah,
I don't see him at the moment showing enough to warrant, unless it's Leicester in general. They just don't look like they're going to score a lot of goals at the moment. Obviously from the spot they've benefited, but we'll look at the attacking data in a bit, and I don't think Leicester will show up too high. Actually, they have. I think when we look at the attacking data, we will show that they have been improving, but they still, their XG has relied on penalties quite a lot, as we know. Let's look at team data then. Let's look at defensive data first. And straight away, it's obvious if you look at data for the season and data for the last 4 game weeks, Chelsea are just reinforcing their position as the top defence. right out on top there in terms of minutes per XG conceded, 118 minutes. Far higher than the next team, which is actually your Brighton again, 94.6. Again, Brighton putting up the numbers, not putting up the clean sheets.
I just don't understand why we're so high up all the time.
You're just not conceding shots. We're going to look at goalkeepers later, and you'll see what I mean. And Ryan's save points, a number of saves he's had to make is extraordinary, and that's because the defence in front of him has protected him well. Other teams to mention is defensive data. Spurs are improving a lot. In terms of minutes per big chance conceded, Chelsea out on top on 94 minutes per big chance, which is hugely impressive. But the next two teams are Spurs and Newcastle on 79.3. So Spurs aren't letting big chances through. And when they do, they've got Lloris on the end as well. So the Spurs defence is actually one perhaps we should be considering.
Yeah, and the new Welsh guy they've got has looked solid. What's his name? Rodon?
Rodon, yeah. Rodon, yeah.
Rodon, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good debut, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was impressive. I mean, I think Alderweireld's out again. I don't really know what's going to happen with the centre-back situation. But yeah, there's definitely. I mean, Dyer is the kind of the the centre-back to get if you're going to pick one. But yeah, I can never Reguilon,
but he's an injured out, isn't he? At the weekend, he's one of Marino's injuries for the weekend.
Yeah,
Reguilon, so.
yeah. When the fixtures turn, though, he's the one I will be tempted by.
He's got the attacking potential. United, if you look at the last 4 game weeks, their defence is one worth keeping an eye on. Hugely improved over the last 4 game weeks. They've conceded the fewest big chances. 191 minutes per big chance conceded for United. But it's United. I mean, Telles, I guess, is the one to look at there if we were considering one of their defenders.
Yeah, and we talked about them last week. We said they were improving. We backed them with a clean sheet against Southampton, and they just fell apart. 2 goals, two set pieces. Wasn't good at all. Managed to come back and win it. But they're a bit like Brighton, I think. They can post some good numbers, but they just look a bit vulnerable when the right ball's played or when something happens. They're just collapsible.
Yeah, I mean, they started the season conceding big chances all over the place, didn't they? I mean, that Spurs game was abominable, but they've obviously tightened up recently. And yeah, we've got to keep an eye on this data and see if we want to take notice. Other teams I picked out here, Fulham, who are now mid-table in this defensive data over the last 4 game weeks, creeping up in the season data. They're definitely improving. A big chance every 76 minutes. Minutes per chance is 7.5, which is actually better than Spurs. It's really strange to see them up there. But Parker's working his magic. He's tweaking things. He's changing his personnel, and it's having a desired effect. The other team I want to pick out. Look at Everton. Last 4 game weeks and now over the season, they are second bottom for minutes per XG conceded over the season, 58.9 minutes. And over the last 4 game weeks, they are bottom for minutes per XG conceded. So,
I mean, just to put that into context, they're below Sheffield United, who have had the worst start to a Premier League in history in terms of their expected season defensive data. That is unbelievable. And
they started so strongly. I mean, they've had injuries and they've still got problems, obviously with Dina out as well now. He's changed the formation, presumably to try and address this. But, Dina's in my team. He's going, and arguably, even if he was fit, he'd probably have to make way as well, given what we're seeing here. Let's look at attacking data. And, 2 teams at the top of the season data that we've seen seems to be the trend. Liverpool and Leeds out in front as the most potent attacks. But Villa are up there now. They had a few dodgy weeks where they looked like they weren't producing as much, but back up there with the West Ham performance in third. So in terms of minutes per XG, they're 56.2, Leeds on 55.6 over the season, Liverpool on 46 minutes per XG, right out in front. But the Leicester attack, I mentioned it, has been improving. You can see they're up just behind Spurs. But the key stat for them is minutes per XG non-penalty, 89.4, which is still quite low. I still don't think, personally, I don't really trust their attack just yet because of the reliance on penalties to this point.
And when they don't play someone like Barnes or Under or these kind of tricky winger players, then it's like they lose one of their main ways. It'd be like if United just didn't play Rashford and Martial, and
Strange,
they were
wasn't it?
playing like Mata and like I don't know, Igalo. Like they're going to win less penalties because they're tricky, fast players aren't playing. I was really angry with that lineup from Rodgers against Fulham. I just can't. You know, sometimes you just see a manager doing something, and they've obviously like worked on it, and they've obviously got a plan and a strategy and stuff, and then you're watching it and you think, well, that team doesn't look right. There must be a wider strategy for this, playing that kind of formation at home to Fulham. And then it just doesn't work. And you're like, well, obviously. Like, what are you thinking? Really frustrating.
I didn't get it. They were being outplayed in midfield. They didn't look safe at the back. In the second half, even when they were chasing the game, I think Fulham still had more chances. It was, let's see how Leicester react. Obviously, it's going to be interesting because it didn't work for Rodgers, and I think Barnes has got to get back in that side. But I guess he's had injuries. Sionchu's been out and so on. So I think they're back on Thursday night. He's got some players returning. Ndidi, I think, is back. That makes a difference. So I think he's such a key player, Ndidi, that might mean when he returns, he can revert back to the older system. We'll see. But he moved to 5 at the back and he's just stuck with it. And I don't think it suited them. Vardy's done okay out of it, but Barnes not so much. Well, he hasn't been playing, so that's been the problem with him. Elsewhere, just if you look at the last 4 game weeks, Man City are second still to Liverpool for minutes per chance. So the City attack is still showing promise, and obviously off the back of that 5-0, we're going to be reconsidering Man City now. We were worried that they were stuck in scoring just 1 goal a game, but that was never going to stay the same. And we're going to look at their team, their side, their squad in detail in a minute. But yeah, second to Leeds, for minutes per chance, 5.9 to Leeds, 5.6, and Fulham again. Look at Fulham, 4th in the attacking data for the last 4 game weeks, with a minutes per XG of 51.8. And so Parker is improving the defence, and the attack is right up there as well. Have they got a chance of staying up? I mean, off the back of the Leicester performance, you kind of think, well, maybe they have.
Yeah, I mean, with like we said about Sheffield United and West Brom and how big a game that was for Sheffield United. I mean, losing that match 1-0 to West Brom and as I said, having the worst start to a season makes me find it hard to believe they're going to really escape from it. I look at the rest of the teams, and I don't really know anymore who is really going to be. There doesn't seem to be any clear favourites to go down. I'd still say West Brom and Fulham would probably be the 2 I'd pick, but I think there's a lot of teams that could potentially still get sucked into it. So yeah, I think they've got a chance. I still think they've just got a weak squad. Like this, I looked at the lineup they played against Leicester, and I just thought, I don't really know. I mean, Lookman's looking okay, I guess, good. I'd say Anguissa's looking good. It's nice to see them score a penalty and not get that record against them. But who's really going to drag them to points like over a consistent basis? I'm just not sure.
Ruben Loftus-Cheek, of course. He started. Did you see he's in the team? I mean, I think they've got some handy players now. Anguissa, like you said, Lookman looks a handful when he's getting goals and assists. Loftus-Cheek, once he settles. Obviously, Mitrovic not in favour at all, so he's preferring a bit of pace up front. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see. I mean, we think that Liverpool are going to go to the Cottage in game week 12 and absolutely spank them, and Salah's going to have a field day. But maybe not. Maybe we need to start considering that Fulham aren't the whipping boys we thought they were.
I think they can score against City, but I still think they're going to concede a hatful of chances.
Well, it's City this week, and then they got Liverpool the week after. So if Fulham are going to, I know, you've got to. I feel sorry for Parker, because he'd be looking at that Leicester result going, we've got a foothold now. We found a system, and we've got some personnel. Who have we got next? Oh, we've got City next. Oh, we've got Liverpool. Oh, no. So, I mean,
Liverpool, though, I don't know. Liverpool aren't the. I wrote Brighton off against Liverpool, but they weren't that impressive.
It's not who you want to play, though, is it? The next 2, City and Liverpool, the 2 best teams.
I mean, I obviously, but I mean, there's a lot of good teams. I wouldn't want to play Chelsea. I wouldn't want to play Leeds. There aren't any real easy games. I think if you are going to play Liverpool, it's not a bad time to play them, especially if Alisson's out for a bit as well.
Yeah, true. The other team to pick out from this last 4 game week days, look at Spurs down there. So minutes per XG, non-penalty, 95.7. So they're sixth from bottom overall for minutes per XG with 83.5. So in the last 4 game weeks, the Spurs attack, presumably with Mourinho taking few chances, trying to reinforce the defence, and we've seen on the defensive data how they've improved there. Their attack has floundered a bit. Not floundered, but they've just shown less intent, haven't they?
We knew this would happen.
You knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming. Yeah, you saw it against City. Soak the pressure up, hit him on the counter, job done. He's probably going to do that in most of the games between now and when they play Fulham in game week 16 or wherever it is. It's not that surprising. It doesn't mean that Son and Kane are suddenly like not going to get points, but Tottenham just aren't going to win games 4 or 5-0. No. I don't think from now until the end of that run. No,
there's going to be a swap. We anticipate a flipping with City. City taking over the mantle of a team who are free scoring and Spurs going back into their shell. And so far, it does look like that could be the case. They've got Arsenal next, and then they've got Palace. I'm kind of hoping that they are take a few more chances in those 2 fixtures, and Kane and Son get some returns. But we'll look at the fixtures and discuss that a bit more in a bit. Let's look at player data. So I've got player data over the season first of all. Not a lot has changed here. I mean, the names at the top are very familiar. We've looked at this data every week. Bamford's now gone top for minutes per XGI non-penalties. So that's minutes per expected goal involvements without penalties included. And he's expected to be involved in a goal at the moment every 114 minutes. Yeah, looks it, doesn't he? Looks it. But as minutes per chance, 21.3. That is he's getting chances more frequently than any other player at the moment. And
he's coming in for me.
The eye test shows it as well. I mean, owning him is interesting because it's funny because you can always claim you're unlucky when you own Bamford because if he scores, he scores. If he blanks, you can say, but he was unlucky. He had 5 chances. He always has 5 chances every match. But he's missing them. And so, you can't lose with Bamford. You can either claim the points or you can claim you're unfortunate. So he's quite a decent asset to own, isn't he? It's exciting to watch as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's not only is it exciting to watch, he's 6 million. Like he's a proper budget forward who's top of the player data stats and is about to embark on an absolutely brilliant run of fixtures over Christmas, and he has the complete backing of the manager. It doesn't matter how many he misses; he's just going to keep playing. So I think he's perfect. And I think if you've got Watkins, and obviously absolute nightmare for you if you do have him. I couldn't believe what I was watching in that match.
Do you want to go over that?
Got him.
I mean,
missed
the penalty, right? So you can't blame. I mean, you can't claim that was unlucky. He took it.
No, absolutely not.
A bad penalty. No. So that's not unfortunate. But
missed 4 out of 6 penalties in his career. Watkins.
It's funny because when he took the ball from Grealish in that game week, I was surprised, and my fear was, Grealish is just letting him have this one. But no, he was the designated taker. I mean, he was unfortunate with the VAR offside. Okay, it was offside, but he was being pulled back. Would he have taken the penalty?
Unfortunate?
Well, he was. But would he have taken the penalty? Probably not, would he? So what would he have got? He'd have got an assist.
Unfortunate is doing a disservice to what that was. An absolute farce of a decision. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how offside because he's being fouled? It's absolutely. And it's like the commentators said, they were so focused on the offside and trying to prove he was offside by his armpit, they didn't even take the thing back to see what was happening before it. It's just such a joke.
I don't want to turn this into a VAR moan because everyone can do that every week, can't they? At the moment, I mean, it's very similar, to the. We debated whether Fernandes was lucky with the penalty when Gallagher was fouled by Fred. I mean, was it a foul? Wasn't it a foul? But again, the VAR presumably didn't look at that because they seem to just look at the one decision they're meant to be looking at and don't even check 1 or 2 stages back, even though there is something that could have made their life a lot easier and just go, well, that's a foul, so I don't give it. But very, very odd. But Watkins is down there. I mean, he's getting a chance every 36.8 minutes compared to Bamford 21.3. So Bamford, getting chances a third quicker than Watkins at the moment. Yeah, I mean, it was close a few weeks ago because of Watkins' fixtures, but obviously with him not playing now, and even though Villa's fixtures still are strong, you would go Bamford, wouldn't you, if you were looking at that market? But the other name, I guess, to consider is Antonio. He's in the top 30 here, but he's not fit yet, is he? I mean, he got wheeled out the other night, went off at half-time. When he's fit, would you look at him over Bamford?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm a massive Antonio fan. We both are. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I I just don't think these injury problems are over at the moment, and we're about to enter into the busiest period of the entire season, and I just wouldn't trust him to get enough minutes. So I love him. I think if you take a punt on him, fair enough. I don't blame you, but for my team, I'd rather have Bamford, who is going to most likely play every minute, rather than Antonio, who's going to be managed.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Antonio over the Christmas, you don't want to be taking chances with players over Christmas. You want talisman. You want players who are going to, you want your Grealish and Kane, your Vardy, players that will be there on every team sheet. Bamford, is he that? I mean, Rodrigo, if you look at the table, is fourth in this table and his minutes per chance. I was wrong. Minutes per chance, actually, Rodrigo is the best rate. He's had a chance every 20.1 minutes, which is faster than Bamford. It shows you how potent the Leeds attack is. Not potent, but how many chances Leeds are creating when their two strikers are right up there. Is Rodrigo going to get a game? I mean, I would have thought Rodrigo starts one over Christmas, wouldn't you? Surely Bamford needs a rest.
He's been playing at 10, isn't he?
Yeah, yes, yeah. With Fernandez out, yeah.
I'm not sure I'm not really sure he sees him as that kind of focal point of the attack. I think Bamford has done enough to kind of. I know he's missing chances, but he's still got a lot of confidence, and he is still. Well, he's the top goal scorer for Leeds, and no, I'm not a huge fan of Rodrigo. I do like this Rafinha guy though.
Yeah, we'll talk about him when we get to Watchlist. Yeah, he looked good, didn't he?
Exciting, isn't he? Yeah, really exciting.
Another exciting attacking player for Leeds.
I know, and another exciting midfielder who we probably won't be able to move for, but will always kind of cover a little bit. But yeah, I like him.
So elsewhere on this table, what I've highlighted here is Bruno Fernandes, Salah and De Bruyne. Interested in the positions they take up. Fernandes, over the season, has been getting a chance every 25 minutes. Salah on 22.4 and De Bruyne in between the two on 23.3. Not a lot between them then for minutes per chance. But of course, Salah's opportunities will be coming more in the box. But in terms of minutes per XGI non-penalty, Fernandes is surpassing Salah. So he's according to expected data, been involved or should have been involved in more goals than Salah at this point. Again, shows you how strong Fernandes has become now as a fancy asset. And when you look at the next 4 game weeks, it's reinforced even more. So this is player data last 4 game weeks. And in terms of minutes per chance over these last 4 game weeks, Bruno Fernandes has had a chance every 20.3 minutes. That is quicker than any other player, even Bamford on 21.1. And his minutes per XGI non-penalty, 107.8, second only to Bamford over that period. So the last 4 game weeks, Fernandes has just come alive. Absolutely come alive.
And it's backed up from watching him. It's kind of a combination of everything. He's had the fixtures, he's had the form, and you watch him play, and you talk about a talisman. I mean, where United would be without him. Dragging them to points every week. It doesn't even bear thinking about. I mean, he's just. I think he's in a different level. You talk about this holy trinity or the categories of players or priorities and stuff. To me, he is just he's out on his own, and then you've got Salah, De Bruyne, Kane, those other ones who you pick from. But I think I just remember Holly on the Scoutcast at the beginning of the season saying that she had Fernandes and she was expecting him to get 300 points, and I laughed. I literally laughed at her. I was like, "There's no way. There's no way Bruno Fernandes is going to get 300 points." He might. What a shout from her, because I think he might. He's just relentless, and it still doesn't even feel like United have hit the kind of form they were in at the end of last season. They can go on a real run like that. His points could be absolutely massive.
I've been watching him over these games, and he's getting in the box more. I mean, we saw the goal at Everton, which was the header, the goal at Southampton, which he was there to get on the end of Cavani's cross. He's just bombing into the box more than he did last season. And he was amazing when he arrived at United, but he was relying more on set pieces, penalties, goals from outside the box. Now he looks proper box-to-box midfielder, getting on the end of crosses and looking for goals in the penalty area. And it's shown by this data. It's been highlighted here. He's getting chances more often. And what's important here is you look at, this is the top 30 of the last 4 game weeks. De Bruyne, Kane and Salah, I had to go looking for them. So De Bruyne is 31st for minutes per goal involvement, non-penalty, on 214. Kane is 39th on 246.6. Obviously, we saw Spurs' attacking data's declined over the last 4 game weeks. Look where Salah is. He's 79th for minutes per XGI non-penalty. He's got 2 goals, one of which was a penalty and an assist. But his goal involvement over the last 4 game weeks, expected goal involvement, is every 467.3 minutes compared to Bruno 107.8. Massive difference. So Salah, and look at minutes per chance as well. Minutes per chance, Salah 40.5 compared to Bruno 20.3. So Bruno's having chances 50% faster. It's bizarre how Salah's dipped. I mean, he's only played 3 games in those 4 games because he missed one. But he's played West Ham, City and Brighton, the 3 games that he's played. But to be that far back from Bruno and even Kane and De Bruyne is surprising, isn't it? Which again, that's what's making me think, well, is Salah what he was? I know people will be screaming at me going, you're mad to be writing him off. And I'm not going to, but this data...
You are mad to be writing him off.
Yeah, of course. But this is worrying. This is... I mean, Jota, who is in the top 30, he's had a shot every 26.3 minutes. So more frequently than Salah over the last 4 game weeks. And it's not just Salah dipping a bit in terms of numbers, because don't forget, Salah normally is a stats monster, so this is a bit odd. But it's the fact that he was sharing goals and assists with Mane, less so Firmino. Now he's got Jota in there as well. And that, adding another player who is having as many shots and and shots in the box as Mane and Salah, surely that's going to impact on the returns that Mane and Salah get, is it not? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm reluctant to write him off particularly. I mean, I watched the Brighton game, offside by an absolute fraction. He scores that goal. He's getting max bonus, goal and assist. Everyone's saying he's absolutely essential to be getting in. It's a bit like Ziyech and the tap-in. Sometimes the stats can be a little bit misleading. I don't think Jota is a massive threat to Salah. I think that there might be some kind of a bit more rotation than we might have seen before. I don't think Klopp is always going to stick to the formation where he plays all 4 of Firmino, Salah, Mane and Jota. So he rested Mane against Brighton, brought him on towards the end. We might see that with Salah. I mean, he wasn't happy about coming off. when he can't imagine he's going to be happy about being benched if he does. But I think that's kind of inevitable, especially with how Klopp is being about the schedules and the lack of subs and all that kind of stuff. So there is that, but I don't think. I mean, given what Salah does in terms of he's a selfish player anyway. He's the best player in the league in terms of goal threat in general. He's proved it over the last few seasons. I still think he is the number 1 fantasy asset in general. I mean, Fernandez at the moment is unbelievable. And I think if I'm picking between Fernandez and Salah, I think I would go Fernandez at the moment. But long term, I still think Salah is going to have his say back in our season, and it's going to be a brave person who goes without him for Fulham, because there is no way I'm going without him for Fulham, captain. Just not a chance.
I'm really thinking about it.
That's really interesting
because I don't want to let De Bruyne go. I've got to keep Fernandez, and I don't want to get rid of Kane just yet, because having Kane over Christmas, I think when you look at the fixtures, which we'll look at in a bit, he's going to be and he plays every game, right? I also think Salah will get rested at least once over Christmas, and that's what Jota has done. And we said this before, Jota is not only going to be a factor because we want to own him, he's going to be a factor because Mane and Salah will get rested now, and we saw it straight away with Mane benched, right? So Mane was gone first. A benching for Salah is going to come. We don't know when, but over Christmas, Salah's going to be on the bench at least once, don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Right.
So, I do. But I think that could happen to anyone. I think probably the only players who are completely safe from that are Fernandez and Kane.
And De Bruyne.
Yeah, right. You think De Bruyne's going to play every minute for City? No, there is no way. There is not a chance Pep plays him every minute.
Well, he's not. He's rested him in Europe the last 2. He's going to rest him next Wednesday as well in Europe as well, isn't he? So he's going to have not played any of the Champions League games the last 3. Is he going to get rested in the Premier League? I
Yeah,
think it's
he'll stick Bernardo in or Foden or
yeah. I
something.
think he might get one as well. So I think Salah and KDB will miss one over Christmas
Yeah,
probably. I I'd put more money on KDB being ever present than Salah though. Now that Jota's around, I think, and also the reliance on
about the
KDB.
same.
You look at City now, and they almost seem more reliant on him now that Silva's not there. So I don't know. I don't think it's easy for Pep to rest KDB. I don't think it's a given
It's a
anymore.
funny one with De Bruyne because I mean, you know, they won the league without him when they didn't have him. Everyone thought when he got injured that was going to be it, and they found a system that did so well without him. I don't want to say it like an over reliance on the best player in the league is a funny one, but I think you know not having him, not having him play, I don't think is they've got so much talent. I don't think it is as big a deal as not playing Salah, for example. Because you take Salah out of Liverpool and they lose like the main goal threat in the side. You take De Bruyne out, okay, you lose your main creativity, but you could replace him with Foden or Bernardo, and you've still got good creativity. Who do they replace like Salah with?
Well,
I guess they stick
I mean,
Jota out there,
I
and
think this is what Jota's doing though. Jota is making Klopp feel like he can securely rest Mane and Salah now. He's shown it. He's rested Mane straight away.
yeah,
So I think if Jota keeps going and being as consistent as he is, I don't think Klopp will worry about resting Salah once or twice over Christmas. Really, I think he would do if he didn't have Jota, but I don't think he would. When
no,
he's
I
got
agree.
Jota
I
there.
agree. I completely agree. I think they'll all get a rest. I think he's going to manage them, but I also think City are going to manage. I think that's that. Like you say, that is the main perk of Kane. Is
Yeah,
unless he's injured, like Josie's claiming
yeah.
he is
Well,
now, he's going to play. And United can't. I mean, who do they play instead of Fernandez? Like, let's
no,
be
they
real.
can't.
Like,
There's no chance.
there's no way he's missing any
They have
games.
got. I
So
mean, they could put Van der Beek in that role and play Pogba, but it's just no. The difference is huge. I mean, they're so reliant on him now. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's look at the fixtures because I mean, this is what has given us this problem, and we'll go back to the City squad in a minute because you know this is the fixture ticker over the next 6 game weeks, looking at the potential for goals. Liverpool are top, which is why getting rid of Salah is so difficult. Right. Liverpool got Wolves at the weekend, Fulham away in game week 12, which is the one we're all worried about. Then Spurs, Palace, West Brom at home, Newcastle. So, you know, they've got the Fulham fixture in 12 and the West Brom fixture in 15, which you're going to want attacking cover for, ideally Salah, right? And that's the problem. Is Jota going to be enough? It's a huge risk, isn't it, to go into game week 12 at Fulham without Salah, and then you want him for 15 as well. And that's a problem. But City are second on the ticker with Fulham this week, United, West Brom, Southampton, Newcastle, Everton. So they've got Fulham, West Brom and Newcastle at the next 3 teams at the Etihad. So you've got to have De Bruyne, really.
yeah, it's difficult. I mean, why I think the Liverpool game against Fulham is such an important game to get Salah back in is because I look around at the other options that week for captaincy, and with Man U and Man City playing each other, that automatically takes out Fernandes and De Bruyne as being like the main captain options. You got Tottenham away at Palace. I mean, Palace haven't been great lately, but I don't know. I don't feel anywhere near as comfortable captaining Son or Kane in that game as I would do Salah against Fulham. Whereas this week, I mean, this is the kind of the thing I'm struggling with a bit. I mean, if I'm taking out Ziyech for Mahrez, I'm losing Ziyech versus Leeds at home, which is a good fixture. They're still a newly promoted side. I know they kept a couple of clean sheets, but at one point, only 2 weeks ago, they'd conceded the most goals in the league. You've then got United away at West Ham, so we know Fernandes away form is incredible. West Ham is still, capable of shipping goals, so there's a good captaincy option there. Obviously, not having De Bruyne isn't ideal, or a City midfielder isn't ideal. I'm not going to claim that it is, but it does feel that I can hand the captaincy option to one of those, or even Vardy, away at Sheffield United, who are the bottom of the league. There's options that I can go to. Whereas in game week 12, like I'm looking at that and thinking it has to be Salah. So that's my reason.
You don't
for
think we're ready to captain Jota yet, then? Even though he's outperformed in the last 4 game weeks, but beyond that as well.
I mean, Jota's been doing well for 6.6 million, or whatever he is, or 6.8 now. He's been doing well, but is he really that double-digit 15, 16 point captain against a team like Fulham, that we've seen from Salah time and time and time and time again.
Well, Salah's
season
only
after
hit,
season.
Salah's only hit double digits twice all season, and Fernandes has hit it 5 times. So Salah has only hit double digits, I think, at Villa, where they lost heavily, and home to Leeds in Gameweek 1. That's all he's done. Other than that, he's been under 10 points. So Salah hasn't really done what we think he's going to go to Fulham and get double figures. He might not, because the thing is with Salah as well, he's got to score, and he isn't an automatic shoe-in for bonus. He's not like KDB and Bruno, because he doesn't create chances. He doesn't rack up key passes like they do, right? So to get bonus, the conditions have got to go Salah's way. He's either got to get a goal and assist, or 2 goals, or hope that the defenders, if they keep a clean sheet, don't do much. If Robertson and Trent provide assists, then he'll miss out on bonus. Because Salah loses the ball, he gets dispossessed, and KDB and Fernandes aren't bothered by that. They don't have that penalty to the BPS. So the thing is, it's harder actually for Salah to get double figures. I mean, whereas Bruno and KDB both came out with 10 points by scoring a goal each, Salah probably wouldn't have come out with 10 because he wouldn't have got the bonus points. And we've seen that before. So it is actually more difficult.
Well, De Bruyne got 2 assists, but missed out on the bonus just because so many other players got goals.
Yeah, but they kept a clean sheet as well, didn't they? So
it's amazing. I mean, you just think, talk about overthinking. I'm debating not getting De Bruyne in for Fulham at home, and you're debating not getting Salah in for Fulham. I mean, it's just that kind of season, isn't it? It's the problem. It's the problem, and we keep saying it every week. It's the issue. It's not just which players do we think are best for a given week. It's how the hell do we keep juggling players in and out of our squads to get the most? Because I mean, if you're taking a -4 or a -8 to get these players, any benefit you get from them is pretty much negated. Especially if I take a -4 or -8 to bring in De Bruyne, and Fernandes gets 15 points away at West Ham. Like what I'm making up from De Bruyne, unless he gets an absolute monster haul, probably isn't even worth it.
Well, I mean, I think it's okay.
That's what I'm struggling with.
I think a hit is okay if you're going to captain the player you're bringing in. Like if I take a hit to get Salah in Game Week 12 and I captain him, and he does what I think he does, then you're going to get the points back. But it is how much the player taking out gets. You're absolutely right. Like
exactly.
Well,
I took the captaincy off Fernandes this week to give it to Vardy, who I bought in for a hit, and that move in theory cost me 10 points because, Fernandes got the Fernandes got 5 points more than him. So yeah, I don't know. So. Yeah, well, it's all a very tricky one. It's hard to juggle, and that's why players like Jota and Mahrez feel they're kind of more reachable because they're cheaper. But it's whether they can. I don't want to use the word cover. It's not cover.
You can't say it's coverage. You can say coverage. It's not. I
refuse to
say
say it's coverage. It is a dirty word. It is a dirty word because I don't think Mahrez and Jota can cover Salah and De Bruyne. I think they're still by far the options, but when you compare the ease of being able to get them and their price and other things like that, then it's not really coverage. It's comparing them against other players in their own price bracket and convenience and a little bit of coverage.
Well, let's look at City. Let's see if I can talk you in or out of getting Mahrez. This is Man City's data of their squad over the season. It's not great. I mean, the stats aren't fantastic for them because they've started slowly in terms of attacking output. Minutes per shot rather. De Bruyne has seen 23.3, quite impressive. He's actually having more shots this season than he did last season. And minutes per XGI non-penalty, 193.5. So he's out in top there with Mahrez in second. But do you fancy Mahrez there on 210.6?
God, do I fancy I mean, last season, let me cast my mind back. I was at a bar in Poland. I played my wild card. Sure you know this story. God, that feels like a long time ago, going to Poland and drinking beers. I played the wild card, and I don't know if you remember, it was when De Bruyne had a knock. And Pep was being very cryptic about how long he was going to be out for. And I'd played the wild card.
I'm still listening as I've just got to go and turn something off that's making noise. But I can
still
no
worries.
hear you as you talk.
Yeah. So, so De Bruyne's got this knock, and I think to myself, this is a chance to get ahead. I'm going to grab a bit of Mahrez because he's actually in quite good form. And Pep has just said that he is in the form of his life and he is undroppable. So I get in Mahrez over De Bruyne. De Bruyne does miss the game. Mahrez doesn't play. Oh, I think Mahrez gets 45 minutes, actually. It was even worse. And then proceeds to not start in the next 2 or 3 games. And that is Mahrez for you. Like, he's been awful all season and playing. He's now had the kind of kiss of death from Pep saying that players who start and score will carry on in the team. So it is a massive worry. But I do feel that Pep's comments this time were genuine. And I do think he is making a bit of an example of Sterling.
Yeah.
For missing chances and for not starting the season great, because he had a poor start to the season last year as well. He's got players like Torres who have come in, have done really well. And I think, and you look at like John Stones. He said John Stones will carry on playing. He was brilliant, and then no one expected him to start, and then he did again, and now he's been rested, so he could be in line to start again. I don't want to say Pep's trustworthy, but with Mahrez missing out in the Champions League and having scored the hat-trick, and City being pretty desperate for goals at the moment, I think we could see a run for Mahrez in the team.
Well, we're seeing it already.
I love Mahrez.
And the thing is, I don't think
exactly.
I think Sterling is a problem because in the data here, he's behind Mahrez and De Bruyne. He's having a poor season. I mean, minutes per shot, 40 minutes per shot for Sterling is really bad. I mean, if you look at I've got his key performance indicators below that. And you can see in terms of chances, he's down 39% in terms of his rate of shots from this season to last. Yeah. So a huge reduction in the number of chances he's been getting. So when he's been in there, he's just not been producing, and he does miss opportunities. And he started in midweek, and Torres was the player who got replaced. And I think Mahrez and Torres start again at the weekend with Jesus.
Yeah, so do I.
So Sterling doesn't play again, and
I don't see how we can. He was the worst player on the pitch last night.
Yeah, something's wrong. Something's wrong there between Pep and Sterling, or Sterling himself. Something's going on, I think.
Yeah, I think it is, and Mahrez in form is one of the best players in the league, without a doubt. He is one of the most dangerous players in the league.
I love him. Yeah.
He's just absolutely brilliant, and like him. He's doing it a lot more in flashes now than he did, and I think part of that is because he's always been so desperate to kind of impress and get a goal or do something, and I think it hurts a player like Mahrez when he doesn't have the confidence of the manager, because he's always looking to do something that he probably shouldn't, and when he does something that he shouldn't, Pep goes off him even more, and then he's even less likely to play in the next game. So I think it's quite telling that he's been given these starts even though he hasn't been performing that well. I mean, he was awful against Spurs. He was absolutely dreadful against Spurs, and it was one of the main reasons why I didn't think in a million years he'd start against Burnley, because I thought, if Pep's talking about form and things, I can't see how Mahrez is going to play. He gives him another chance to go, which I think is pretty big, like confidence boost for Mahrez, because he must have known he underperformed in that game, and he rewards him with a big points haul. So,
but this is
it's encouraging.
There's something puzzling with his selection this year. There's a factor that we're not seeing behind Foden not starting, behind Sterling not getting regular starts. I thought Sterling was a mainstay. I thought Pep loved him and he would start no matter what. I really thought Foden was going to get far more starts than he's been getting. But those two, it's a bit of a mystery, isn't it? Because pre-season, I was looking at Sterling could have been a mainstay in all our squads. It was either De Bruyne or Sterling. Which one will I go for? And obviously De Bruyne was the favourite. There's no contest now. I mean, 10 game weeks in, you wouldn't even look at Sterling now over De Bruyne. I mean, you might get them both, but you wouldn't go Sterling over De Bruyne.
You can't keep him. If you've got him, you can't keep him.
I think it's hard to, yeah. And then Foden is a mystery as well. I mean, so what is it that Pep doesn't like about those two players at the moment? Because there's something.
I can't answer it. I mean, Sterling, I can get a bit more. I mean, I thought he's shown glimpses of this season of looking quite good without really delivering a lot of promise. And it was interesting. I don't know if you saw the Scoutcast last night with Karam, who's a Man City fan, and he says actually the emergence of Cancelo might be one of the reasons why Sterling struggled, because Cancelo comes in and plays quite narrowly. It forces Sterling out wide a lot more and means he's a lot less effective. So if Cancelo is perhaps going to be playing less and Mendy's going to be back,
Yeah.
It might actually suit Sterling when he comes in. I thought that was a really good bit of insight.
Mm.
So that might be a reason. Foden though, Foden is just an absolute mystery. I think it's because Pep has just wanted to tighten up, and he's just realised they probably concede too many goals, and so he's preferred to have the two kind of more defensive central midfielders. And I don't think he sees Foden as a right winger, because he would have started some games over Mahrez.
No.
So he obviously sees him in that more midfield role, but doesn't fancy it because he wants to keep it a bit tighter. So I thought against Burnley we'd see Foden play with De Bruyne. I really thought Foden was going to start that game, and he didn't. So he's a sell. He's a sell as well if you've got him. I don't think you can keep him either.
I mean, it's good news for De Bruyne because it means he remains in the 10 role, I think. I thought Foden was going to come in, De Bruyne would drop deeper. It didn't happen against Burnley. I can't see it happening against Fulham either. Strange. Something's going on there. Anyway, so Mahrez, looking at his key performance indicators, so this is his minutes per stats compared to last season. Everything's down apart from his shots on target, which is slightly up, 5.2%, and his minutes per goal, which is up 17%. So based on his data, even though he's had a run in the team, he's down on everything compared to last season. But I think that's got more to do with how City have played, don't you think? So I don't think that should put you off him. But don't think I'm talking you into it. I don't want to
you could also argue a bit, though, that the way City have played has maybe been in part to De Bruyne not hitting the heights that he was last season. Because I mean he is such an integral part, and I think when he plays, he's not just their best player, but he's so relied upon to create stuff. And if he's not at it, the whole team kind of suffers a little bit.
I think you're being harsh on De Bruyne, though. I think he has played well. I think they're missing Silva. It's like the Grealish thing. They're missing Silva there, who's that extra dimension. Now I think teams can go, right, if we get on De Bruyne and try and shut him down, which is pretty much impossible anyway, he still has a good game. I don't know, I wouldn't say City are more predictable, but I guess Silva was that jack-in-a-box who could magic things up. Whereas obviously they had De Bruyne's killer pass, but they also had Silva's ability around the box, which unlocked defences, and they don't really have that at the moment. So I guess that's a factor.
Should be playing.
Yeah, I don't get it
because it seems tailor made for that duo to really. Yeah, I mean, it is a bit harsh on De Bruyne. I mean, what I've seen from De Bruyne is more times that he's dropped deeper to dictate things in the middle because it's been necessary, because there hasn't been the same level of creativity, and there isn't going to be when they play those two DMs. So he does get advanced and play in the number 10 role, but when City is struggling a bit more, that's when he does drop a bit deeper, and he didn't need to do that against Burnley. I think Fulham, I don't want to say Fulham isn't a great game for City and a great game for De Bruyne, but I look at Burnley and I think that is just tailor-made for a team like City. That is just a team. I mean, there's a reason why they've lost 5-0 four times in a row, every time, because they sit back, and you can't sit back against them. And it was, you look at Brighton against Liverpool, and you look at the top teams, and the top teams struggle more when teams actually go and have a bit of a go against them. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Parker's tactics are in that game. If he does what he did against Leicester, and he actually goes for it a bit more, and he says, look, let's actually give them a game. Obviously, there's the potential that an open game suits City and they absolutely destroy them. But I think there's more of a chance that Fulham put on a bit of a show. If Fulham just sit back and try and defend with 10 men, they're going to get absolutely torn apart. So, yeah, that's when a manager like Parker, who hasn't really got much experience in these types of games, is really going to have to kind of earn his money. I don't really know what he's going to do. I'd still back a heavy City win, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can't say that we must have Salah, but we think Fulham will be a difficult game for City. So it'll be interesting to see how this City-Fulham game goes and whether that influences our approach to Liverpool's visit there as well in Gameweek 12. But I mean, De Bruyne, looking at his comparison to last season's data, he's up for chances by 19, almost 20%, and goal attempts in the box up 22%. So he has actually, it seems, although he's down for chance creation, in terms of going for goal and scoring goals himself, he looks like he's taking on more responsibility. And I've got to say that is mirrored by the fact he's had a shot every 23.3 minutes, which is quite high, very high for him. So I think it's almost like he's taken on more responsibility to score goals as well as create them this season. And maybe that's because Aguero and Jesus haven't been fit or firing, and I guess that might change when that settles down and Aguero's back or Jesus finds some form. But worth monitoring. So how are you feeling about Mahrez at the moment? When we've got probably another 40 minutes before we get to your team, half an hour maybe. Are you kind of wavering a bit, or?
Do you know? I mean, how crazy is this? My transfers this week probably depend on whether Mopay is fit. Because if Mopay is out, then that means I don't really have a team because I've got Grealish not there. So it means I'd have to play Eiling because I've got Mitchell as well. So I'd have to play Eiling away at Chelsea, which I'm very reluctant to do. And it means I could do a bit of switch. I could get rid of Mopay and I could upgrade Son and get De Bruyne. So that seems quite logical if Mopay's out. If Mopay's fit though, then I could just do Son or Ziyech to Mahrez, which at least lets me tap into that City game. And then the week after that, I'd then be losing Mahrez straight away for Salah because I'd be dumping Vardy as well.
Right.
So
you take a 4-point hit. You take a 4-point hit that week to get Salah in. Right.
Yeah. So it will be a proper 1 week, proper 1 weeker for Mahrez, but what a week to do it when he just scored a hat-trick.
Only Mopay is bad enough. Letting Mopay dictate your transfer decisions. That's even worse.
How does it come to this?
I don't know. You haven't got a goalkeeper this week, right? Because you've got Martinez out, and you won't be alone. Yeah. As we saw in the top 10k, I think it was 26% ownership currently in the top 10k. So I thought I'd bring up some goalkeeper data to help people out if they are shopping for a keeper. Yeah, I mean, of course, the option is you go without a keeper. I mean, are you thinking of getting one, or are you just going to take a 0 point?
Yeah, I mean, I was having a little look at Mendy, and then his price went up last night, and I was like, oh, that's annoying. He could have been an option. I think it's a good opportunity to move Martinez on if you don't think he's gonna do particularly well sort of over Christmas. The fixtures are pretty good though, and you know it's very difficult to predict a haul from a keeper for 1 week. I say difficult. It's almost impossible. I mean, he's got after the blank. He's got Wolves away.
Right, let's bring the date. Let's bring the ticker up. So there you go.
No, you've got the ticker. Yeah. Yeah. So you see Villa there. So Wolves away. Obviously lost Jimenez now. We don't really know how they're going to line up. So there's a chance of a clean sheet there. And then Burnley, West Brom, Palace. I mean, they're good games. The thing is, though, after that, it turns pretty awful. They've got Chelsea, they've got United, they've got Spurs, and they've got Everton. Then you've got Burnley away. We're kind of getting into January there, so there might be kind of wild cards played. But I don't mind keeping Martinez over Christmas, particularly right up to the new year. So I don't think he's a huge priority. My other option would be to upgrade Forster and rock the double goalkeepers.
Yeah.
But I think that 0.5 is worth more to me than a potential maximum of 6-7 points from my goalkeeper in 1 week. So I'm not totally buying into that. I mean, the only good thing you could do is you could get in someone like Sam Johnston because he's got a good game this week.
Yeah.
And then when Villa's fixtures turn at the end of December, they then go on a fairly decent run of games. So he'd then come in and cover Martinez for that period.
Well, yeah, West Brom, they've got Palace, Newcastle, then it gets tough, but. Yeah, so he'd be a good one in tandem. Yeah, so if you're going to have 2, 4, 5s, John. Well, let's go back to the keeper data, and it's interesting with Johnston because he has got the most save points this season. So he's got 12 points from saves. That is making 3 saves in a game. You get an extra point. He's managed to get 12 of those, the most of any keeper this season. Ahead of Darlow, who's got 11, and Schmeichel, who's got 10. Ramsdale's got 10 as well. And in terms of bonus, we look at BPS and we look at the rate in which goalkeepers are getting BPS, because obviously it affects the chances of getting bonus. He's getting BPS every 5 minutes, which is, I think, second only to Darlow, who's getting 4.5. So Johnson is a good bet, not only for save points, but also in the mix for bonus as well. He's got 7 bonus points so far this season. And obviously he's playing for a team who don't score many goals. So, they're going to win a game. They're win 1-0. So if they keep a clean sheet, it's going to be 0-0 or 1-0 probably. So Johnston undoubtedly looks a good bet. He's also an excellent penalty saver as well. So he hasn't got a penalty save yet, but he's got 1 or 2 in him, I think, before the end of the season. So I think Johnston is possibly the best bet. Certainly is if you want to replace your sub-keeper and have a tandem with Martinez. That looks the way to go. Is there anybody else on this list that you look at? I mean, Meslier is the Leeds keeper. They have got some good fixtures coming up. He has got BPS every 5.4 minutes, so a good rate. He's got 6 bonus points. He's got 8 save points so far. But the fixtures are good as well. They turn in his favour. So he's another one that people are looking at 4-5. Anybody else?
I mean, he's decent unless you've got one of the Leeds defenders, and then I think the double up for that period is probably a bit much. I mean, you've got your best mate McCarthy just racking up points left, right, and centre as well at 4.6. I mean, the fixtures. I don't look at the fixtures, and they're not too bad for McCarthy.
Well, Southampton. Let's have a look. Brighton away, then Sheffield United at home, Arsenal away. Yeah, Fulham, they're not bad at all. It's only City at home in game week 14.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'd think they could go to Arsenal and get something, couldn't they? Quite easily, the way Arsenal are attacking at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and he's proven, he's, like you said weeks ago, he's a very good shot stopper. I still don't think they're going to get that many clean sheets, but again, the saves could be quite big for him. I mean, the big. Sorry, we can say something.
No, that's fine.
Oh, I was going to say the player who I wish had a better fixture this week would be Fabianski, because I would love to do a Martinez to Fabianski upgrade. Fabianski is my favourite ever goalkeeper, I think, in FPL, along with Pope when he was 4.5. You just know he's just going to do well. He's going to be up there with the top scoring keepers this season. He makes save points. He's good for the bonus. He just ticks all the boxes, and he's 5.1 and. The fact he's the top scoring goalkeeper with the fixtures West Ham have had, I think shows that he's got some real potential.
Yeah, he's only out in front because he's got the penalty save at the moment, so that's the only thing really separating him from the pack, if you like. So the thing here to point out is there's hardly much in it between Schmeichel in 10th place and Fabianski who's top. There's 13 points in it, but it wouldn't even be that if Fabianski hadn't saved the penalty, and the penalties kind of level out over the season. So. When you are buying a keeper, the difference between a 4.5 keeper and a 5.5 keeper is very little. It's taken this long, 10 game weeks, for it to be 13 points. So it's not the same when you're shopping in midfield or even defence. You can make a big difference by spending 0.5 more. So I think if I was doing it, I mean, Fabianski for this week, no, but I think if I was doing it would be Johnson I would go for. And I think the move to replace your 4.0 keeper with him, play him for the next 2, then Martinez takes over, then they swap back. That looks the best strategy if you're willing to spend that extra 0.5, because Johnson looks a prospect, as I said, for save points and for BPS, and he's got the pen saves coming. So that's what I do. Mendy, I mean, it's interesting. You look at this data. Mendy has kept 5 clean sheets, the most in this table. He's only got 1 save point all season in those appearances. He's made 8 saves, and he's getting BPS every 7.5 minutes, which is the lowest other than De Gea. Well, actually, Ryan is low as well. But yeah, so Mendy, if you're getting him in, you're only going to get clean sheets. You're not going to get bonus. You're not going to get any save points. Plus, you've got Chilwell and James, who are more attractive if you're going to double up. So
I mean, it's one of the kind of pitfalls of getting one of the expensive goalkeepers. So you see when people go for Alisson or De Gea or Edison, these kind of players. Like, okay, they're going to keep the kind of more consistent sixes, but then they don't hit the big scores. So that's why they're not up there with the top. Well, I mean, they are up there with the top scoring keepers, but there isn't enough in it to justify the difference. Mendy is cheaper though. Yeah. So I mean, if you've got Mendy at 5, I think you've got a real bargain. I mean, as he starts to approach the 5.5 mark, I think that's probably starting to get a bit out of reach. I think he's 5.3 now. He went up last night.
Right.
So that feels quite a lot now just for that. But if you had him at 5 or 5.1, I think. I think you've still got a bargain there, but
I still think the James Chilwell double up is the way to go, because James is now nailed on, and he's the same price as Mendy. He's cheaper than Mendy even, and he's got that attacking potential. Interesting. I just want to talk about Matt Ryan. Look at this, 1 save point all season. He's only made 12 saves this season.
He's been awful.
But 22 points, so right down there. And yet Ryan was, at the start of the season, it was, do I get Ramsdale? Do I get Ryan? Do I get McCarthy? I'm very thankful I got McCarthy over those two, because Ramsdale's got no clean sheets whatsoever on 25 points and Ryan's on 22. So there is a difference there of 17 points and 20 points. So quite a difference if you went Ryan or Ramsdale. So Ryan really surprises me down there, given how good the Brighton defence has been.
Yeah. I mean, he's the perfect blend of no clean sheets and no save points.
Yeah.
It's like the complete opposite of what you want from a keeper. I mean, that's why Pope was always so good, and well, and still is, to be fair, because they keep clean sheets and he makes loads of saves and they don't score many goals, and he passes it sideways a lot and racks up the bonus. Like he Matt Ryan is the complete opposite of that. He's like the anti-goalkeeper you want in FPL, and he's having a really poor season, and he's costing us points. He has done so far, and it's no surprise that Sanchez was brought in for that game against Spurs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him getting a few more starts over Christmas, because Ryan he's been one of our best players the last couple of seasons, but he's not having a good season.
Again, at the start of the season, I could have easily gone Ryan over McCarthy. It was pretty close.
I started with him.
Yeah, well, there you go. And a lot did. And it's just shocking to see him right down there and really delivering no fantasy value whatsoever. So, yeah, it shows you how you can get it wrong. Let's look at Watchlist then. Go through. We haven't got Ryan on our list, of course. We've mentioned some of the keepers that we've got. You put Johnson in this week for the very reasons that
I'm considering him, even for a hit.
Because you're going to get some points.
You're getting two back. You're getting two back even if he blanks. It's just whether I see that as being worth it for the 0.5 I'd have to spend.
Yeah, and making a keeper change. I mean, it's not going to be till game week 16 on our wild card that I'll probably look at keepers. But just for completeness' sake, these are the keepers that we've got. I've got Martinez, Guita, Meslier, Darlow, and Fabianski. And you've got Mendy, Meslier, Johnson, Fabianski as well on the watch list. Going into defence, I've added Dallas back in.
Quite, as if you're ever going to get.
No, I mean, I think he's 5 million, isn't he? It's just Palace have had their run of fixtures now.
They have,
and
they haven't
didn't
looked
come
good
through
the
it.
last few games.
No. So we talked about the Leeds double up just now when you were talking about the Leeds keeper. I think a Leeds double up when you're getting Dallas and Ayling could be worth it given the fixtures they've got and given how attacking those two fullbacks. I mean, Dallas isn't even a fullback, is he? He's been played in midfield and he's certainly getting forward a lot. And Ayling, how has he not got more assists this season, Ayling? It's just crazy how much he gets forward. And I thought he got the assist at Everton, but again, I fell for the...
So did I.
The bun,
I was
the
so
hair
happy.
Bun, it was Harrison.
It's not worth owning him just for that.
It's annoying, isn't it? I wish they'd changed their hair because when he scored, I was like, yes, Ayling assist at last. Then they showed the replay. I'm like, oh no, it's Harrison. And no.
I really like Ayling, but I've watched quite a lot of Leeds, and he's annoying. He's annoying to watch.
Is he?
He's annoying to watch because he's always in the right areas, but he's never really doing the thing that's going to get him the FPL points. He's always just passing it to someone who then passes it in, or I don't know. It's hard to. I know his stats are good and his touches in the penalty area is good, and everything points to it. When I watch him, I just don't really ever get the sense that he is going to deliver a big haul for me. I'd rather have Dallas if I was picking now.
Would you now?
If I was wildcarding now, I'd go Dallas.
I
Yeah,
suppose
definitely.
so. Yeah. I just think. I mean, Ayling surprised me actually. I thought he'd be one of the players who wouldn't get up to standard in the Premier League. I think he was a fantastic Championship player. And I was expecting him to make the jump, but not be as good as he has been. He's looked really. I think he's been outstanding for them in this start of the season. And it's interesting because
he's been brilliant. In terms of player wise, he's been fantastic. But FPL wise, which is kind of all I care about,
I know. I get
he hasn't got any. He hasn't no attacking returns at all. And he sometimes plays in the back three as well.
That's which we
did know about, but that completely kills him really.
And he didn't ever. No, I'd like to think he can stay at fullback now. I mean, it's the reason why I'm looking at Dallas as well as Ayling is the fixtures, because after Chelsea, they've got West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, United away in 14, but then Burnley and West Brom. So 4 of the next 5 after Chelsea are strong enough where they could get a couple of clean sheets. And of course, when you've got Dallas and Ayling, if you're going to play them both, you've always got a chance for attacking return. So I don't think it's a bad option to look at the double up in that period if you're looking to save money. I mean, I've got Dino and I need to get rid, and then probably Cancelo will go. It might be that next week or the week after it's Cancelo to Dallas to get me some money back, because I do think that it'll be fun owning those two over Christmas as well.
Unless they concede.
Well, yeah, but I think when Leeds concede, you always think, well, I might get something back because they're going to bomb forward. Lots of changes in our midfield watch lists. I've put Pulisic back in. You haven't. Interesting. You'd have gone off in completely, have you?
Oh, I've got no interest in going back. I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. It was awful. Him and Werner, we talk about every week.
Do you think he's a write-off for the season, Pulisic? You think he's going to be too injury prone for us to even consider?
I'd like to see him, being the first name on the team sheet. He's got the potential to. He's that good a player, but I don't know what's going to happen with him and Werner.
Yeah.
I don't like his injury record, and it's coming into Christmas, and I want players who aren't Pulisic.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have him for the festive period, but I just want to keep an eye on him because at the start of the season, he was apple of my eye. He was going to be my differential midfielder. He was going to be the one to push into the heavy hitter bracket. No, it's disappointing. If he doesn't turn out to be a fancy asset this season, it will be disappointing because he's a lovely player. Yeah, but I think you're right. The Abraham, Werner, Pulisic rotation is going to be a problem, I think all three players.
Got 4 goals tonight as well. So.
Oh, I didn't see it, did he? Every time he plays, he scores. You play him, he scores. Yeah,
he's great.
Elsewhere, I've got Lookman in there from Fulham already, but I've got Cavallero as well on penalties. I know you're going to laugh, but Fulham are improving. We've got to consider them. He's 5.3, I think. If I was ever getting rid of Souček, Lookman or Cavallero on pens. A few weeks back, we were like, "I'll take Oliver Norwood if he's taking penalties." So I think we've got to consider him. No, don't fancy it. All right, okay.
I mean, there's no. I mean, you've got 2 other players on there, Neto and Podence, who are sort of 5 million.
You've got Podence. Plus. I refuse to put him back in. I've put Neto.
Well, what's interesting is who plays up front with Jimenez.
What do you think about that?
I think it's going to be Neto. I don't think Fabio Silva's ready for it. I think we have seen Podence play up front with Jimenez before, so I think it's going to be between those. I mean, it could even be
Traore. I think it could be Traore. Yeah.
God, that would be hard to resist.
But if we go back,
I love Traore playing up front.
Go back to the player data. Last 4 game weeks, in terms of minutes per XGI non-penalty, Neto is 3rd behind Bruno and Bamford. So I
hold my hands up. I was wrong about him. I was harsh about him. I said he was an average player. He's been really good.
Yeah.
He's been really, really good. So
and he will start now.
I'm sorry, Pedro.
Yeah. Well, so Neto and Traore are on there just because I want to see the shake-up. We don't know how long Jimenez is going to be out for. It's a shocking injury. I mean, what I'm worried about is what does Jimenez come back as? Because as a centre, he's got, it's not like Petr Cech with the protector. If he has had a bad skull injury, that's going to be difficult mentally to recover from, I would have thought. So, it's awful. Really, really awful. Yeah. Because he's such a fantastic player. And
a fantastic header of the ball as well.
I mean, hopefully he'll come back and be the player he was or even better, but it's a hard one to come back from, isn't it? Awful. Rafinha in our midfield watch list, we've both added him in and highlighted him here. He did look fantastic against Everton.
Tied, didn't he?
Yeah. And we've looked at Klitsch and Harrison and even Costa over the period of this season so far. Rafinha's another one to put in the mix.
I remember being asked about him on the FPL show, not last one.
Yes, you were. I was on there.
And I was like, who the hell is Rafinha?
You know what to do. He's a Brazilian, he's a winger, we know that.
I was like, quick Wikipedia. And then I was like, just give the generic answer. I want to wait and see. Well, I have wait and see.
Very good.
I think he's looked great. I think he's looked brilliant. I think he's a good option over the run they've got.
Yeah, well, he's certainly a differential. If you were going to wild card and you were looking for a differential, instead of going Souček or someone like that, you would probably look at Rafinha as an option.
How much is he? 5'5"?
5'3". I think he's gone down to. I think he's gone down initially. He's in that bracket anyway. He's in the same bracket. 5'4", right? So he went down 1. Yeah, I mean, we've got to see him get regular starts. But I mean, when Bielsa signs a player, he's going to be decent, right? So we knew as much, but we just got to see him establish a run of starts.
I'm not convinced on Cock though.
Okay, you say that, but I think it'd be an unfair.
I hope no one soundbites that.
Yeah, that's going to be a meme, isn't it?
Oh, great.
Yeah, you said it. But I do feel that I think you're harsh on him. I think he's not Ben White, but you're biased, aren't you? So.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's the weak link for Leeds.
Okay, let's look at forwards. Only one change. I put Fabio Silva in there just because I want to keep an eye on the Wolves situation. He's a cheap option, obviously. I think he's 5-3. I'm not going to go there probably, but let's see what happens if he gets the start. I don't think he will. I think he will play either Neto or Traore up front.
Yeah, me too.
That's my thinking. And at the moment, only really Bamford appeals to me amongst these strikers. I've got Watkins, Abraham, Werner, Richarlison, Bamford, Vardy, Wilson, Antonio, and Fabio Silva. It's really Antonio and Bamford are the two that I would consider bringing in for Kane if I was going to sell at the moment. You've got Werner, Richarlison, Bamford, Jesus, Wilson, Adams, and Antonio. Adams, though, I mean, the Southampton attack while Ings is out has really dipped recently. And he's trying, Adams. I just think when you compare him to Bamford and Watkins, I don't think there's a contest anymore with that in that bracket. So
yeah, it's pretty slim pickings, isn't it? Strikers at the moment. It's a bit of a shame. It really does come in waves, doesn't it? Sometimes you seem to have loads. Kind of at the start of the season, probably take Jesus off this list, and you'd be saying Werner, Richarlison, Bamford, Wilson, Adams, and they're all really good picks, and they could all do really well. And for whatever reasons, they're now kind of not so good. So yeah, I mean, I do want Callum Wilson. I just think I don't really like Newcastle. But I think he's just going to keep scoring.
I think you're right,
and
I think he is a good pick. But I just don't want to have to watch Newcastle play and hope for points.
That's true.
That's the problem, really. I really don't like watching Newcastle play because Wilson will get points, but he'll get points out of games where they've not looked like scoring, and then they'll get a goal on the break, and it all
points is points, though.
I know it is, but I want fantasy to be a bit more enjoyable than watching Newcastle. That's the problem.
At least if they're like at least if they're in like the kind of combination of 3:00 games, you don't have to watch it and you just get the notification. True. Or someone goes mad on.
I like watching my players. I want to look forward to it, and if it's a striker, I really want to look forward to it. But on the basis that we're trying to make fantasy fun this season, as always cheating would say, I really want to not have Wilson playing for Newcastle. If only you play for somebody else, go back to Bournemouth and keep getting goals. Quickly, let's go for the fixtures because otherwise we're going to do 2 hours. Newcastle were going to be up front, but of course they're not now, so that fixture's no longer taking place. So we haven't got to talk about them. Thank God. I don't want to slag on anymore. Burnley, Everton. I mean, both teams not really playing well, but you've got to back Everton to get a result, I think, here, in my view. You don't see it?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a draw, 1-1.
You like that result, don't you? I'm going to go 2-0.
2 like a 1-1.
I think Dominic's going to get a goal here. Rodriguez will play up again. I think. Well, it's interesting to see what formation they play. Where Rodriguez is still in a central area and they're playing the wing backs.
We did. Sorry, I don't know why I interrupted there. I was going to say we did terribly on these last week.
I don't ever make a. Log it. I never
don't.
No, no, you can't expect us to be decent at fantasy and also get predictions right. I mean, blimey, that's too much to ask. I'm going to go 2-0. Man City, Fulham. I'm not going to go a landslide. I'll go 2-0. I think 2-0 is a comfortable win. I think Fulham will put some opposition up and City will just kill them off at the end. You going to go 5-0?
I'm going to go landslide.
Are you?
I'm going to go 6.
6-0. You think Fulham will attack and get found out?
I think 6-1. I reckon Fulham will get one. But yeah, I think City are gonna thrash them.
Well, hopefully they get one, and Cancelo's been subbed on 75 minutes, and then they score, and I get my clean sheet. The spawniest, luckiest points ever those are. West Ham United, with Fernandes the way he's playing away from home. West Ham are good, though. West Ham have surprised us already this season. That's a really tricky
1-1.
one to call. It'd be a good game, that. You're going to go 1-1.
1-1 has got this weird thing for me now, but yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I think West Ham are too good to get thrashed. United, I don't think are good enough to thrash West Ham anyway. So I think
Cavani plays, you'd think, wouldn't you? Cavani starts
banned for that ridiculous post he made.
Antonio, is he fit? If Antonio's fit, they'll get one. But otherwise, I think I'm going to go 2-0 United. We've seen the defensive data over recent weeks has been strong. If Antonio's not playing, I think West Ham will struggle. So I'm going to go 2-0. Chelsea Leeds. Well, this could be anything. Yeah, this is the form attack against the form defence.
Yeah.
Something I'll have to give here. Do you think Leeds will score?
No.
No, nor do I. I think Chelsea are going to do a professional job on them.
So do I. And I think Chelsea are going to win this quite comfortably.
Do you?
And it makes me a bit wary about selling Ziyech.
Ah, you see, that's why you're saying that, though. You're biased. You're trying to talk yourself out of the Mahrez move. That's what it is.
I don't know. I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, let's not forget. I think Chelsea have scored the most goals in the league. Leeds have looked better now. They've got Phillips back, but
that's true.
I think they're still capable of conceding goals, and I just think Chelsea have too much quality. They're just going to be too good for them, and I don't think it really matters how Bielsa sets up. I think they're just going to find a way through. I think it's going to be a 2 or 3-0 Chelsea.
Do you?
The question marks are, I mean, I just think, is Ziyech going to be involved enough to in that win? That's the question.
I mean, in a 3-0, what's the minimum you want from Ziyech in a 3-0? 10 points?
He's got to get a goal and assist, really, isn't he?
I mean, he's like KDB and Bruno. If he gets an assist, he's going to be in the mix for bonus because he's going to create a lot of chances. So he'll get the key passes. He'll get the big chances created, probably. But assist's not enough, is it? In a 3-0, you want more than the 6 points. You want 6 or 7 points. You want a double figure.
I think currently I would sell Son for Mahrez
over Ziyech
and keep Ziyech.
Even with Arsenal, the opponent for Spurs.
Yes.
All right.
Can you hear my confidence? Yeah. I don't want to sell either of them,
I'm
really.
going to go 1-0 Chelsea here, by the way. I don't think it's going to be high scoring against all odds. I don't. West Brom Palace. We'll get to Spurs Arsenal in a minute. West Brom Palace. Oh dear. I'm going to go Palace here, unfortunately. I'd like West Brom to get a result, but I'm going to go 2-0 to Palace.
I'm going to go 0-0.
Oh, yeah, that's a thriller, isn't it? That starts Sunday off with a 0-0. So if you're going to go to a garden centre, which you can do now because lockdown's off, go for the early kickoff because you're not going to miss much, according to Az. I don't know if you want to get back for the 2:15 either because that's Sheffield United Leicester. I think you can probably let that one go as well. If you've got Vardy, you want to see it. Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0.
He's a Wednesday fan as well, Vardy.
Yeah, he is. So he's going to try and do it here in front of the. Do you think he's going to celebrate with the old? Even though there's no fans there.
That's so Vardy, isn't it?
They're in tier 3, so there'd be no fans there, but he'll still pretend there is just to do that, won't he? Just to wind them up.
He's scoring in that game. It's just written in the stars.
And if he does, he will pretend there's fans there just to wind up.
Yeah.
How awful.
For sure.
God. I'm going to go 1-1. I think Brewster's going to score.
Really?
Yeah, but this is his game. Brewster's going to score. You watch it. It'll be the first time
You call me biased.
The first time I play him, he'll get a goal, and then how lucky will that be if that's the case? I mean, how did they not score at West Brom? I mean, God, they had so many chances.
Yeah. And
I think Mousset's going to play up front with Brewster. I think those two would be handy, actually. I like Mousset as a player. I think he's lively. So,
do you think he'll start?
I think he will. I think they have to change it up. He's got to get goals out of somebody, isn't he? So Mousset is probably their best attacker, I would say. And we haven't seen Brewster, what he can do yet. I think those two might start, yeah.
I don't want Brewster because I'm reluctant to lose Mopé just purely because I don't want to downgrade him down to Brewster.
You're reluctant to lose Mopé. You're going to lose Son, but not Mopé. Yeah, all right, okay.
God, I know it makes sense. Yeah, it's good I'm doing this pod, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to lose Mopé for Welbeck at 5.5. A bit more expensive, but who else is there? Unless you get Brewster,
no,
you've got to pay. Welbeck is the next cheapest.
I'd just get Brewster and change and play 5 in midfield or 4 at the back. That's what I would do. That's what I am doing. What I'm talking about, but I just don't think. I think you're right. There's not a lot there, is there? Under 6, there's nothing at the moment. So anyway, I'm going to go 1-1 there. What did you say for this? What do you reckon, Leicester, Sheffield United?
I think they win 3-0 Leicester.
Oof. Spurs Arsenal. Kane has got 10 goals in 11 games against Arsenal. So I am fully expecting Kane to rip it up in this one. I mean, Arsenal turn up in indifferent form, shall we say. And Mourinho surely isn't going to play conservative in this. You'll have fans in the stadium, don't forget, right? So there's going to be 2,000 lucky Spurs fans watching this. So will that change the dynamic? Don't know. But Spurs 2-0 for me, maybe even 3-0. I'm going to go 3-0. Sod it.
I don't think Spurs are going to find this that easy. I think like we've seen Arsenal beat United 1-0. I mean, no one really anticipated that result. I think Arteta does know how to set up a team to frustrate opponents, and it's in games where he's actually had to be a bit more expansive and they haven't looked right, and it's cost them. I think they're going to frustrate Spurs. I think it could be 1-1.
I mean, it'd be awful if 2,000 Spurs fans go back to the stadium and they see Arsenal beat them. That'd be awful. I mean, I can't.
Yeah, I don't think Arsenal have got enough to win it, but I think they will frustrate them. I think it could be a nervy 1-0 Spurs, or a 1-1.
I think if an early goal goes in, I think Spurs will run out win. I think they'll do what they did to West Ham, but they won't concede 3 goals in the second.
Which is why I'm thinking of binning Son.
All right.
Off.
Okay. Liverpool Wolves. Wolves are struggling to score goals. They haven't got Jimenez. Liverpool haven't got a defence, but they've looked all right.
Robertson's a doubt as well, isn't he?
He is. He is. I think he'll be all right. I'm going to go... I've got to go just with the 2-0. It's a very Lawrenson scoreline, quite literally, but we'll go for that. Do you see it being anything but Liverpool win? It's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah, Liverpool win that. I think 2-1. I reckon Neto's going to get one.
Okay. And Brighton Southampton.
I love him now.
1-0 to Brighton. I think Brighton will win this game. Southampton. I can't see Southampton scoring against the second best defence in the Premier League, Brighton on their Albion. Just can't see it.
It was a really good performance against Liverpool. I was really happy with Brighton. I was a bit worried when I saw the team. I was a bit worried when I saw Veltman playing. But in general, I mean, Liverpool fans, I don't think can be aggrieved. I know the penalty was contentious, but I think in general it was Brighton were definitely worthy of a point in that. So yeah, it just depends what team Brighton turn up. I think a draw is probably more likely in that. I think it could be. Is there going to be goals? No. I'll go 1-1 again.
Yeah, I don't think there's many goals in that. I'll stick with 1-0. Right, quickly, let's look at our teams. You've deliberated all night. Have you made up your mind? You're at your team now. You've got Ziyech staring at you in the face. Mahrez, we've looked at his data. What are you doing, Az? You don't have to commit. You don't have to commit now. Don't worry.
I can't believe Mopé is in my squad still.
He's there. He's in your team. Look, with the flag and everything. Yeah.
No. I mean, I could do Mopé and Son to De Bruyne and Brewster. Sorry, I don't want Brewster at all. So that's looking less appealing. I mean, I also really, really, really don't want Semedo anymore. Right. So I'm tempted to just do Semedo to Walker and just get that done. And then it's there. The trouble is if then Mopé's out, I'm playing Eiling, and then I don't have a Man City midfielder. So it's all a bit of a mess. I think if Mopé's fit, I think I will do Semedo and Son to Mahrez and Walker. So it'd be taking Son out for a hit for Mahrez.
With Arsenal in town and Spurs fans back at the stadium.
But then, like, if I do Semedo to Walker, then I have to lose either Ziyech or Son, and it's like I don't really want to lose either of them for a hit. But I think Mahrez probably does have bigger upside. It's really, I don't know, Mark. Come on,
Ziyech is a nightmare.
You're the guru.
Like, Ziyech is an absolute nightmare because he's a quality player who will deliver eventually. So he's hard to get rid of, but at the same time, you're not banking on him for points, are you? He's not. I mean, Son. Let's just remind ourselves. I think he still is the highest point scorer in FPL. He is by 1 point. So I don't think Son and Ziyech are comparable at the moment. Son is a better asset, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think the Leeds game is a better fixture for Ziyech. And it was only for 1 week, because then I'd be getting salary in for whoever I take out anyway. So I guess maybe it is a more long term. I don't know, Mark. I don't know. Let's move on to your team. I don't know. Right. I could do anything.
Yeah, well, let us know on Twitter.
Wait to see my team on Saturday.
Yeah, but you're going to captain Fernandes. We'll get to captains in a minute.
I'm going to captain a City player if I bring him in.
If you bring him in, right? Okay.
If not, it'd be Fernandes.
De Bruyne is in there. I haven't got much to do other than get rid of Dina. Right, so Dina's got to go, which means Cancelo will probably. I'll gamble on Cancelo starting, and Dina. It'll be Dina to Walker. I could also do Dina to. I could decide that I'm not going to get Salah, and I could go Dina to Robertson, and then make up my mind on Salah next week and do a hit to get Salah, which would be Cancelo out for Dallas and then De Bruyne for Salah. But it would be easier just to do Dina to Walker, and then I've got the money to do De Bruyne to Salah next week. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I mean, the fact that Robertson's not fit, if Robertson was certain to play, I would be very tempted to get Robertson in for Dina and then potentially go to Fulham with just Jota and Robertson and hope that is enough and that Salah doesn't go crazy. Because De
I can see the logic.
De Bruyne's got United, right? And De Bruyne against the big teams turns up. And so there's no guarantee that he's not going to outscore Salah. I mean, I know on paper, it goes against my policy of going with the fixture low. That's the thing. If I'm sticking to that and captaining with the fixture, I've got to go Salah captain in game week 12. So that's probably going to be the case. So it's likely to be Dina to Walker and going into the game week with 2 Chelsea, 2 City, which is all right at the back. But I don't think Cancelo's going to turn up, which will mean that Brewster's off the bench to get his first goal against Leicester.
Your team's looking a bit shaky.
You reckon? Where's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, playing Souček at home to United isn't ideal.
Yeah, but I've got Grealish, that's
Kane
right.
Out.
Kane's all right. Oh, do you really buy that?
No, but like Luke said in our WhatsApp chat earlier, why is Mourinho doing?
I don't know. It's almost like it's almost like he thought, oh yeah, I'm going to say Kane's an injured out, and then he almost got embarrassed by it and went, but I think he's going to play, and he was always like backpedaling, wasn't he? It was very odd.
Yeah.
So why would you say he's a doubt and then go, but in my opinion, he's going to? You would just say, you wouldn't say anything, would you? And he's done it with Son already, hasn't he? So I think Kane's fine. I'm not worried about that in the slightest, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, neither of us are selling Grealish, so we've got to bench him. And considering we're not talking about taking a point, I mean, a lot of teams will have to take a points hit because some have got Martinez, Target, Watkins, Grealish, I mean, and Wilson. So we're very fortunate, I think, very lucky to get away with
I called your team shaky. I forgot about Grealish. I'm playing Mope. I can't criticise Souček. I forgot about that.
I could have come back at you straight away there, shall we? Let's look at the captain data. You talked about game weeks ahead, and this is why it's tricky because De Bruyne for this week, Salah for game week 12, and that's the game week you mentioned where De Bruyne's against United, Fernandes against City, and it's tricky, that, isn't it? You're not going to captain them, and even Kane and Son are at Palace, which is no gimme. So game week 12 is the problem, which is why, you almost want De Bruyne this week, Salah next week, De Bruyne back in game week 13 when Salah plays Spurs. I mean, Liverpool Spurs will be a tough game for Liverpool because we know what Mourinho's going to do, right? So I think you want De Bruyne for that one. And then in game week 14, you need Fernandes because he's playing Leeds and there's no other option that stands out. You got De Bruyne at Southampton maybe, Salah at Palace. Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one, but I'd rather have Fernandes captain at home to Leeds. And then in game week 15, you could go either Salah versus West Brom or De Bruyne versus Newcastle. But the message is you're going to need both Salah and De Bruyne, or you're going to need to shuffle about over the next few game weeks.
Well, this is the thing that puts me off with getting De Bruyne. And I know De Bruyne is amazing. Like I don't need to constantly be told that not having him is mad. Like it's very much in my brain that not having him at home to Fulham is not a good idea. But if I get him in, I feel like I'm locked out of Salah because I cannot afford to, with the way my team is structured to do that, to get De Bruyne, Salah and Fernandes in.
And you can't do what I'm doing, which is De Bruyne, Salah back to De Bruyne again.
I could do that, but it kind of feels like I don't really want to be like banking transfers myself that I have to make because I've got issues like Mopay to deal with and Semedo, and I feel like I'm just going to keep them forever. I don't want them. I'm sick of them. It's difficult. I don't know. It's tough. I'm finding this period really difficult to know, and I feel like I escaped it last season not having De Bruyne or Salah, but I don't know how long I can kind of ride that luck for. I mean, if I'm confident that Vardy's gonna do quite well against Sheffield United. And I felt that way last week, but if Vardy does well and De Bruyne does well, then it kind of mitigates it a bit. But
yeah, and Vardy's got Brighton at home in game week 12, so Vardy is a captain option if you don't have Salah, but it's there. I don't know. Let's look in detail at this week. I'm going to go De Bruyne because of fixture, and it's purely because if you look at the defensive data, Fulham over the season, 19 goals conceded, minutes per XG non-penalty 69.8, which is the the worst of the teams that we're considering here. We're considering Spurs versus Arsenal, United, West Ham, and Liverpool, Wolves. And so of those 4 teams, Fulham defensive data looks bad, the worst over the season. But actually, when you look at the last 4 game weeks, it's more Arsenal who have conceded more chances other than penalties, with 65.5 on their minutes per XG non-penalty, which suggests, yes, Arteta could turn up and defend, but I think there's goals there for Spurs. I think Kane and Son could come out of there as decent scores. I'm going to go De Bruyne, though, despite the data looking much more in favour of a Kane or a Liverpool asset, or even Fernandes at West Ham. I don't think there's going to be much between the captain candidates this week. I think Fernandes will get something at West Ham. I think he could end up with another double figure. I think Kane's going to come out of it with something. I don't know about Liverpool at home to Wolves, because we know that Wolves, if you look at this data, they're the best defence of the 4 that we're looking at here, both in terms of the season and of the last 4 game weeks. And without Jimenez, how is he going to set up? Is he going to go back to the 3 at the back? He played a flat back 4 against Arsenal, didn't he? So is Kilman going to get back in? I think he will do that. I think he will go back to wing backs, and possibly play 2 up front, maybe Neto and Tro. I don't know. It's really interesting.
I think that's what we do. I think that's what we do. Go back to the kind of the old formation
and play 3 in midfield, 2 up front. Yeah. I think that's.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised you haven't got Vardy on this list, though, because I do think he's a strong option this week.
Do you? Yeah.
Sheffield United bad. They're the bottom of the league, worst team in Premier League history for a reason.
Yeah, you could be right. Vardy could be the outlier, the one that breaks out of the captain candidates. But I haven't seen that Fulham game. I don't think many who own Vardy would be confident putting the armband on him this week. I think they, because
I could easily sell Vardy and Ziyech for KDB and Bamford, for example, this week, like for a hit. I've got the money to do that. But I just don't feel confident losing Vardy this week.
So you'd be more confident. You got more confidence in Vardy doing something at Sheffield United than Son at home to Arsenal. Yeah, I think that's close. Oh, okay.
It is close. It is very close. If I was gonna pick one, I'd pick Vardy. If I had to choose one.
It's so tough, and these are the decisions we've got to make week to week now. It's not just, it's captaincy is hard at this point. And transfers are very difficult because we're dealing with about 5 to 6 heavy hitters now if you put Vardy and Kane in that bracket, which you've got to. And then you've got the midfielders as well. I don't think my team is set up the best configuration. I think getting Kane out for Bamford is probably, or Antonio, is the way I'm going to go eventually. But it's just because of Christmas coming up that I'm having to just have 2 of the heavy hitters in midfield. And the 2 I'm probably going to stick with are De Bruyne and Fernandes. And I'll bring Salah in for 12 and then get him out. So I'll captain him next week.
Wow!
But, I think that's what I'm going to do.
Proper hokey cokey.
Yeah, I think I've got to be courageous enough to do that, and I think I've put myself in a decent position now. 400,000. I can start taking a few risks with that now. I can start. I don't want to go back. I don't want to get a decent position and then be passive and go right. I'm just going to slowly work my way up the ranks. I want to attack it a bit more and still take hits and do things like that. I think that's the way I want to do it.
I'm just really surprised you're keeping so much faith in Kane. You've got no desire to captain him right up until...
It's just for these 2. I think after the Palace game, that's when I'll consider it and see if Bamford's still doing it and seeing if I want to move the money to midfield and get Salah, De Bruyne and Fernandes. I think that's quite likely, particularly if Kane doesn't produce over Arsenal and Palace. If he does, then the lure of keeping him, because he's got Fulham game week 16, that's it, you see. To get Kane, I mean, we know over Christmas Kane always does well. It's almost like the more back-to-back matches he has, the more frequency he hits form. And it's just a data on Kane. As I said, I'm scared of it. We need to get Jay on, which next week, to talk about Kane.
Yeah, so Jay was supposed to be on this week, but lockdown ended and he's got some family stuff to attend to. We're hoping to get him on next week. I think he said it should be fine. So
next Thursday, we're going to move to Thursday next week to accommodate Jay and get him in, and then we can talk about Kane with him because I really want to hear what his views are on it. He's got a good team, Jay. I looked at his team; he's got a really good setup. So it'd be really interesting to talk through his team and see how he's dealing with this situation and the choices we make. Just before we go, I've got to admit that I had to get up halfway through to turn off. This is so middle class, it's ridiculous. To turn off our new robotic Hoover that we've got that went off at 10 o'clock. We bought one of those little Hoovers.
The Roomba one, yeah, we got one of those.
And I forgot that we'd set it for 10 o'clock, and I was like, oh, when I heard it, I was like, that is going to work its way down the room and just destroy our sound throughout.
Does yours get stuck on a lot of stuff? Mine's always pulling wires off things and
bits and pieces. I'm quite impressed with it. I mean, it's far from essential unless you shop at Waitrose and eat lots of hummus like me. Then it is an essential purchase. Anyway, so that's why I got up halfway through. Sorry about that. I'll put that straight and make sure his clock is set to a later time.
Good to know.
These are the problems I have outside of FPL. It's extraordinary. It's a wonder I can deal with it, isn't it? Okay, I think we've done enough. Almost 2 hours. Let's end it before that. It's a good night for me.
Oh, hang on a second.
Oh, what have you got?
You've missed the smash.
Oh, yes, go on then, quickly. I don't want to hit 2 hours. You've got less than 4 minutes. You can do it in that time.
Yeah, final call. Obviously, 1,100 people watching, 170 likes. It's pretty poor. So hit that like button.
Look, we're never going to get to see you naked unless we get loads of subs, right? We're miles away, right?
That's another soundbite that no one wants. But yeah, the likes help, the subs massively help as well. So it would be great to hit 10k in the next few weeks. But if you've enjoyed it, then make sure you do those things, smash those buttons.
Yeah, we want 10k for Christmas and do the Christmas edition in suits. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? That might be a big ask, but we'll see. We'll see if we can get there. Yeah. Right, it really is a good night for me.
And it is a good night for me too.